again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys are having the most amazing day ever so far, and thank you so much for joining me here today. Today we are building in Newcrest and we are building a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom modern family home. I really like this style of house. It's kind of Scandinavian inspired. I did find a reference image on Pinterest. If I can find the reference image again, I will put it up on screen now for you, just so you can see the vibe that we were going for. The general shape I kept pretty much the same, so I didn't really change all that much apart from the landscaping and like a bit of the colour scheme and the style of windows as well. But yes, I really like how this build came out actually, considering it's a little bit uncomfortable for me, this particular style. I really enjoyed doing the inside of this house, which normally with this kind of style I wouldn't enjoy as much as I did, but I had such a good time doing it. I actually started this build today, like this afternoon. So we got back from walking the dogs and I was like, I'm just feeling quite inspired to do something a little bit different for me. So I decided to do this and I just sat down and basically this is what we came up with. So we're currently working on the exterior. As you can see, it's very simple. You will have seen from the reference image that I really did try and stay as true to that image as I possibly could. Normally when I work from reference images I don't stay as close, but with something like this, because it's a style that I'm not too familiar with, I feel that reference images really help me get the point across. Now I was going to use the reference image to also work on the floor plan, but I ended up putting this sort of bump out on the back of the property, which I didn't have access to from the reference image. I only had reference to the front of the house. So the back of the house I kind of had to make up on my own, which is fine. I'm kind of used to doing that anyway. So that part I really didn't struggle with. But yes, front of the house is very true to the reference image. Inside of the house I kind of went off on a bit of a tangent, kind of doing my own thing, because the floor plan from the reference image was just in reference to the shape from the actual image itself. So bad at explaining things, but it didn't take into account the bump out that I decided to put on the back, so I just kind of decided to do my own floor plan, and it actually turned out really well. This is probably one of my better floor plans that I've come up with, which is really weird. Anyway, I don't normally say that about my floor plans, by the way, that's why it's weird, because normally my floor plans are quite awkward, but this one actually turned out quite nicely. Now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to see if I can sort of frame the front of the house, and initially I thought it looked really nice, and then I kind of stepped away for about half an hour and then I came back to it and I was like, I don't like this at all. So we ended up removing it, but I kept the footage in because we do end up putting a few more landscaping pieces on the front, so I didn't want it to look like I was just jumping ahead about 10 steps, excuse me, sorry. So yes, the sort of bushes that we're putting here we end up removing, but the lights and everything else that's going on the front we end up keeping. So I don't know why I'm making such a big deal about it. It's really not a big deal, but the bushes just end up coming out. Now I struggled for a while with the landscaping because normally with my builds I go like all in on the landscaping. I mean, if you've been around the channel for a while then you'll know that's sort of my style, but with this house, because it's like a minimal sort of Scandinavian house, I didn't want to go overboard with it, and I felt like that's maybe one of the reasons that I ended up removing some of these bushes from the front, because it was just looking a little bit too overwhelming. It just didn't look quite right. Although it looks nice, it's just not true to the style in my opinion. Obviously I'm not an expert, but from the images that I'd seen of Scandinavian builds, everything is very minimal. Now when we get onto the inside of the house we do true Rachel style and it's slightly overcluttered, but I still try to keep with the like modern vibe. So anyway, yes, bushes come out and we end up putting a car on the drive as well, and it's really funny because every time I go into debug I end up sifting through there for a good 10 minutes trying to figure out what I want to find. And I know there's a mod, I think it's called Better Build By or something, and it allows you to search in the debug for certain items and it like categorizes everything. I should probably have a look at maybe downloading that, because my only concern with it is I don't know whether it changes like the structure of build by itself. Like I've already kind of got in my head like a loose idea of what's where, so I kind of know that, oh, that's next to that item and that's next to that item, and I don't want to like have to relearn it again, probably overthinking it because that's just what I do. Anyway, I might have a look and see if I can download it because I'm thinking it might be quite helpful. Anyway, I digress. The car is here. The beauty with speed builds is that you don't actually see how long it actually takes me to search for things or type things or try and figure things out. And as I said, I try and keep as much of the speed build in as I possibly can because I appreciate that you guys might be building along with me, or you like just seeing the entire process. The only part of this build that we decided not to film was 2 of the bathrooms. So I have talked about this before on the channel. Normally with the bathrooms in my houses, if I have more than 1 bathroom, I tend to keep them pretty much identical just because I just think it's easier, and for continuity purposes for the house, I think it works better. But I decided not to film the 2 bathrooms upstairs because I'd already filmed the bathroom downstairs. Now, I call it a bathroom, it's not actually a full bathroom, it's just a toilet and a sink, but we'll talk about that once we get to it. This is the kitchen area. I decided to go, again, very modern, so we do use a lot of items from Dream Home Decorator, which is probably one of my favourite build by packs. I don't know if that's a controversial thing to say, because I think gameplay wise it was a bit lackluster, but I think the items that came with the pack are amazing. I think you can use them in all different settings, but I had in my mind that I kind of wanted to go for this like black and white theme throughout the house with pops of colour. Again, not my normal style, so quite uncomfortable for me, but once I'd done the kitchen, I think I kind of got my groove on, and the kitchen, dining and living space sort of areas of the house are definitely my favourite, and you'll probably very soon see why. And I'm also gonna have to apologise yet again, because I keep apologising in my speed builds recently about my squeaky chair. I think it's time that I invested in a new one, but I'm trying to find the right one at the moment, so hopefully my new one won't squeak as much. And I love that I keep mentioning it and then my microphone doesn't even pick it up, so I'm apologising for something that you guys can't even hear. Anyway, as we've been rambling, the kitchen is almost finished. I wanted to put these really nice flowers from the new wedding pack on the island here, and I know this is such a minor thing, and I was like, oh look how cute that is, and then I dropped down to see what the kitchen would look like in a screenshot, because I don't know if you guys have noticed that that's something that I just do while I'm building. I'll drop down and just see, okay, does that look good, all angles, how's that looking, and it just, there we are, just taking it away, and it just wasn't fitting the vibe that I wanted to go for, so I ended up using this plant from the Blooming Rooms kit, which we use, I don't want to say we use heavily in this house, but I use it quite heavily in most of my builds now, because the plants, I love plants in The Sims, and if I don't know what to put in a space, I'll just put a plant. So that, it's almost like that kit was made for me. I know it wasn't, but I feel like it kind of was. Anyway, kitchen is almost done. Colour scheme I absolutely love. Again, I don't tend to go for these darker colours, but I think it works so well in this particular house. And this ends up being the dining space. So initially I was going to make it a separate room, and then I realised because it's like a Scandinavian inspired house, it's quite open plan. So although the living room is a separate room, it's just an archway and a wall. So I still thought that got across like the openness of the house, and I think it works really well. Again, going back to, this is probably one of my best floor plans that I've ever come up with to date. You guys will have to let me know if you disagree or not, but I think it is. I tend to find when I do these modern houses, I find the floor plans quite easy because a lot of it's quite open. When I do these suburban houses, I tend to close them off a little bit more, so I think I find it a little bit more difficult to figure out a floor plan because it's not as open. Anyway, not much going on in the dining area really, but again, trying to use items that I don't use in my other builds just to kind of differentiate the different styles, and I really enjoyed doing this modern style. I definitely would like to do it with like an apartment or something. I'd like to try and build another house in this style, because I'll link up in the top right hand corner if I haven't already. The last time I did a house in this style, I really liked it. It was a few months ago now, and I'm trying to work out if I mentioned that at the start of the video. I'm pretty sure I did, but I don't know whether I said that I was going to link it. So I'll either link it at the start or I'll link it right now. I'm such a professional at these voiceovers, honestly. Just adding some final touches to the living dining. This isn't the living dining, this is the kitchen dining space. Just adding some finishing touches to the kitchen dining space, and then trying to work out what I wanted to do with this area of the house, because on the floor plan of the house that I was working from, this is actually a garage. Now, of course, I don't feel like there's much of a need to put in a garage, so I decided to put 2 children's, like older children's bedrooms down here. So one's a twin room with a bunk bed, and then the other one's just like a single bed. But I just thought you can actually fit, how many Sims? I'm trying to count, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think around 6 or 7 Sims. That was a really loud squeak from my chair, by the way. So if that was not picked up by the microphone, that would be a miracle. I'm definitely gonna have to edit that out. Wow. Anyway, this is the living room. I feel like this voiceover is all over the place as per usual, but what else is new? This is the living room. I really like the colour scheme that we ended up going for in here and just the general vibe. And I think knowing that I didn't really have to over clutter everything definitely took the pressure off, and I was able to just come up with this really, really nice colour scheme with all these lovely items. And I think this is possibly one of my favourite interiors that I've ever done, which is really weird to say out loud. Exterior wise, I think I've done better, but again, I think it's maybe because the style I'm just not too comfortable with. But as far as the interior goes, I really, really like this. I love the colours that we used, I love the items that we put together, and although it's not true Scandinavian interior, I think there are definitely elements of it, and you can definitely tell that I really did, or I hope you can tell that I tried to hold back on the clutter just because I wanted to be as true to the style as I possibly could be. And this bookshelf here, I can't even remember which pack it's from, but I can categorically say that I've never used it in my entire life, but it's like it was built for this house. It fit the space perfectly, it fits the vibe perfectly, and it just looks so good. Like, oh my god, like it's just so nice. Now this area here I ended up putting a desk in because what else could I have done? I really don't know what else I could have done here. Although this is a family house, I don't know if you're kind of getting the vibe that like the kids have their own spaces, but as far as like clutter on the outside, they're not really allowed to bring their stuff out because I think the parents are quite house proud. But my idea was that the kids are slightly older, so they don't have toddlers or babies or anything like that, so they've either got like children, teens or young adults as children, and so I think they're probably going to be a little bit more respectful of that which is good, because if you've got a house like this, you're going to want it to look like a show home pretty much all of the time, or at least I would anyway. That's kind of how I'm like with my house in real life, even though my house isn't modern. It's yeah, I'm definitely very house proud. Anyway, I was thinking maybe that one of the parents was like an interior designer, and they've kind of like built this house, not built it, but like decorated this house as per their own style. Anyway, this is the single kids room on the ground floor. I didn't want to go over the top with any of the colours or the clutter really. Now the other bedroom is far more cluttered, but I think it's cluttered in a more sophisticated way, but you'll see that in just a few minutes when we transition over. But this one here, I kept it really, really simple. I didn't really have a particular gender in mind for this bedroom, so you could pretty much put whichever sim you wanted to in here, and it's the same with all of the bedrooms actually. The one next door, I felt that like there could be twin boys in there, but it really doesn't matter, and I suppose you'll see that when you see the colour scheme. It's very, very monochrome, like very black and white, so I didn't really have a particular gender in mind. Now this room it's a nice size, but I think because of where I put the bed, I kind of shot myself in the foot a little bit, because I think it's a little bit awkward. Although we managed to get everything in that we needed to, and this child also has a computer, which I think is really, really nice. And going in with like the whites and the oranges and the pastel colours, I just think it looks really, really nice. And I tried to put plants in the kids' rooms too, which I tend to do in a lot of my builds, which some people may think is a bit weird, but I don't know, because we've got so many plants in other parts of the house. I was thinking maybe they got them from IKEA and they're like fake plants. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're real, because I can't imagine kids would be very good at remembering to water plants. I know I'm speaking generally there, but I still now forget to water my cheese plant. I have to rely on my husband to do it because I always forget. Anyway, this is the bunk bedroom. So if you don't have like two sims that you feel like you could put in here, you could just remove the bottom bunk and just put a desk or like a little sofa under there. It's no big deal. But in my mind, I was thinking that I wanted to put in a bunk bed in here, just because I wanted to use this bunk bed from the Dream Home Decorator Pack, because I think it's really nice. And I knew going into it that I wanted it to be like just black and white with pops of colour coming through with the posters and some of the toys. So yeah, I think this room's really, really nice. It's a really nice size too. Slightly bigger than the other room, I believe. Or have I? No. Or is it the same? No, it's the same size as the other room, but it's just set out a lot differently, so it feels like it's bigger. Or is it the same size? I'm having a look now. it is the same size. It seems so much bigger in here, do you not think? I can't believe I've only just noticed that. Anyway, I think I definitely messed up putting that single bed in the middle of that room. I definitely should have put it up against a wall, and I would have had so much more room for activities. If you download this house, I will not be offended if you decide to reshuffle that room around, because I clearly wasn't thinking straight. Anyway, this room is so cute. It's definitely my favourite bedroom of the entire house, and mainly because I don't think, now please correct me if I'm wrong, I've ever done like a black and white themed room with pops of colour. I just thought it was so much fun to do. I thought it was so much fun. And as I said, I imagined twin boys in here. But as you can see from the decor, it isn't really catered for boys or girls. So you could have like a set of twins in here that, like, whatever you want to do really. And then I decided to switch out some of the wallpaper because it was just looking a little bit too dark in certain corners. And then I switch out the wallpaper again, and I use the wallpaper. I think I do this off camera. In fact, I know I do this off camera because I don't ever remember pressing record, excuse me. And I use the wallpaper with like it was like white on the background, and then it has like the black branches. I end up switching it out for that, so if you do download this house, that is one slight change in that room. Anyway, as I've been rambling, we've moved on to the upstairs. This is where the two further bedrooms are, the main bathroom, and then the master bedroom has an ensuite as well. You wouldn't think, looking from the outside, that you would be able to fit as much as I've managed to fit in this house. I have come to realise that that is a special talent of mine. I did a 6-bedroom family townhouse, which I will link in the top right hand corner for you now as well. I did a 6-bedroom family townhouse, and it's really weird because it doesn't look that big from the outside, and then once you get inside you're like, oh wow, 6 bedrooms, okay. I even think I managed to fit 3 or 4 bathrooms in there as well, so that's really fun. Anyway, in this room here I envisioned either a teen, a young adult, or it could be a guest room. I didn't really cater for anyone in particular or any sim in particular. I just tried to keep it, again, with the colour schemes and it being modern and relatively neutral with pops of colour. I think we achieved that with this. And then I put this really nice painting sized up on the wall. I think that's from Discover University. And then this is the main bedroom. Now, as you can see, I have done the bathrooms off camera, as I was explaining before, and I actually included me doing the back garden of this house because the back garden, I think I surprised myself on, because I thought I kind of wanted it to be a nice back garden because we have the space for it. So when we get out there in just a couple of minutes, I will definitely show you. But with the master bedroom, it's very light, it's very airy, it's a little bit awkward. It's definitely not my best work in terms of bedrooms, but it's functional, it's fine, it is what it is. I do struggle with, and I've spoken about this before on the channel, I struggle with bedrooms that aren't kids' rooms so much. And I think it's because I like to keep them relatively neutral and I don't tend to make them very exciting, and that's probably down to me maybe dreading doing them, and then when I come to do them it's just like, oh, let's just get it over with kind of thing. Whereas with kids' rooms I love doing them, and I think that comes across. Anyway, again, as I've been rambling, this bedroom is almost done. And I've tried to tie in the colour scheme in the house as much as possible. I've used the same flooring and pretty much the same sort of like wall textures throughout the house just to keep that sense of continuity. This is the back garden, and as you can see, it's actually a really nice size. So we do end up putting a swimming pool in here, there's a barbecue, there's a nice seating area, there's plenty of trees and flowers, and it just looks like a really nice place for your Sims to relax. And it's really funny because when I was doing this, I did not put in a gate. So I had to delete 2 of the like walls, and then so your Sims can get out, because there was also no back door, which is very strange because normally I would include that. Anyway, speed build's almost over, so you can get this house on the gallery right now. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box below. You can grab them from Sim File Share. But thank you so much once again, everyone, for joining me here today. I'm so sorry for the rambly voiceover. I think I'm in a really chatty mood today, and I feel like I'm talking at 100 miles an hour. Thank you very much for joining me here today, everyone. You guys take care, and I will see you next time I post a video. Bye!